They fooled me, we can't get fooled again.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
If you don't like what we tell you to believe in, we'll kill you.
All right, kids. Listen. Don't listen to this podcast.
Don't listen to this.
If you're not of age.
What's of age?
18.
16?
18. We're a bunch of dudes, and we're going to say some really bad words.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Conspiracy Podcast.
What's poppin'?
What up, everybody?
Hope you guys are doing good. This is part 2 of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, if you weren't doing good, you're about to be doing worse.
Hopefully you guys listened to episode 1.
Yeah.
Right? Part 1. In part 1, we went over every victim and the grotesque details that were involved.
Super fucking grotesque.
As we venture into this true crime category, essentially.
Yeah, we're kind of like mixing in some categories here.
You know. Now, if it was
Content, baby.
if it was solved and it was like Ted Bundy and you know what I mean, like it would be a little different. But this is, this is an unsolved story.
Mystery.
And there are
With some conspiracy in it.
there are
There's
conspiracies in it.
definition of a conspiracy. Maybe there was copycats. Like who's
right.
Yeah.
The police.
Oh.
We've all seen this many a times in our episodes.
Oldest trick in the book.
Yes. The ineptitude of the police force. God damn it. That's the biggest conspiracy of all
Literally,
of our
like,
conspiracies.
how are you cops? What's happening? What the fuck?
Well, once we realize that it's like people like us.
It was like regular. They're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing.
I fucked that shit up.
I've been a cop for 5 years. I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah. What did you say? You said earlier in a text message, you were like, why do killers always leave their semen
It's always
everywhere?
the semen. So
The semen's
always the semen they get.
The semen gets them every time.
We had a solid conversation about semen earlier. If you were interested in being on our group thread,
I mean, there's a 75% chance if a murderer's getting caught and it's a dude, it's because semen was involved.
Although back in the day, they didn't know that semen was so DNA related.
Of course not. They're just all over everything.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it was. It was like we found out like kind of close to present time now that they took some semen, ran some DNA samples
On the shawl or the one of the in the bloodstained shawl or whatever that they kept. Which
then solidifies the sexual deviant notion.
Yeah, there you go.
If he's like jerking it on the shot, like.
But it doesn't make sense because there's no evidence that he did do any.
The only evidence
activity.
is the
Well,
semen.
you got some semen, like
he may have that
there's
sex
some
with
sexual
her
shit.
for him
Sounds
to be
like I don't know what other evidence you want for sexual deviancy.
I know,
Than
it's like,
semen
the
everywhere.
semen just fell out of his penis like on accident. Whoopsies.
There's no sex involved.
No, he didn't touch himself. It just
Semen
happened.
everywhere. Yeah. All right. Well, if you didn't, I mean, go back. Obviously, so what we did is we went over the canonical 5, and that was the confirmed victims of Jack the Ripper. And we didn't really go over suspects. We didn't really go over anything. It just kind of laying the land
just the groundwork
of exactly of what it was like in Whitechapel.
The worst.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Whitechapel is literally it's like that's fucking purgatory.
Yeah. And it seems like all of these women are, down on their luck and they're poor and they're living in the fucking
forced
the slums.
to prostitute.
And they're forced to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then sucked into alcoholism and just like
Although we didn't actually go over.
I think everybody's alcoholic there.
universal.
If I lived there, I'd be alcoholic, 100%.
For sure, 100%. I would too. For sure.
We might already be. Sure. We don't live there.
We live in Whitechapel. This is Whitechapel.
2024. I wonder, actually, and we didn't bring it up in the last episode, but we were talking about the how much it costs to stay there.
No, the 4 pence.
But how much is a trick?
Good question.
Does that make sense? Meaning, like, how many?
Maybe it's like 1 pence.
Yeah, like how
Yeah.
many do
You
they
got to
have to
turn 4
do?
tricks just to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, how many do they have to do in the night
but you also
to
have to
make
turn
their
tricks
room?
to get booze.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
So maybe it was
it's a bit.
maybe it was a 2 pence.
It's a bit.
No, 2-3 pence. For a little ride.
Or you got to work all night.
Or maybe it's like depending on what you're asking for.
Yeah.
Maybe the
True.
Pence,
Oh, for sure.
True.
the pence goes up as you step up the game.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Handies are one.
Yeah, it is a half pence.
The ones with no teeth, they get a little more.
5
For,
pence.
Although it's got to be pretty cold in Whitechapel in the winter. I wouldn't do a handy. Yeah. Sorry, we don't mean to laugh. You know, whatever. We do. We do mean to laugh.
we do.
Fucking 1800s. What, are you gonna get pissed off at me now? Like, oh my God.
It's 130 years
You've
ago.
been dead forever.
We're gonna get canceled over this shit.
Okay, so now let's talk about the cases, the Scotland Yard, the suspects, the conspiracies. Yeah. Okay, so there's a guy by the name of John Douglas. Now, John Douglas, while you may not have heard of him, you have heard of him via Netflix. Okay. So John Douglas is considered the pioneer and the legendary profiler that created profiling serial killers. Okay. So you ever see a
Based
show?
on what they do, you're like,
That's right. Have you ever seen a show called Mindhunter
I saw a little bit of it, but I didn't. I wasn't
On
really that
Netflix
into
or
it.
what?
on Netflix? It's
No.
I watched a couple episodes. I'm like, whatever.
it's phenomenal. It's really if you go all the way in, yeah.
Eric has
But-
terrible taste.
Well,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. But there's a guy in there, and it's the story is about the formation of the FBI's behavioral science unit, where they were going, we can profile people based on how they kill people.
And then we can figure out who they are.
There you
then
go.
we reverse it.
That's
back
right.
then.
That's right. So this guy John Douglas is that guy that they based that show on,
The Mindhunter.
and that sort of thing.
John Douglas. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, he's just the fucking boss,
this is a
and
smart
he's the
dude.
pioneer
Yeah.
of profiling serial killers. Okay.
I did see a Netflix movie recently. I forgot what it's called, but it's like about that. Like there's a chick, older girl that was a profiler, and like the
Yeah.
guy was at a concert, and
Okay.
it's like one of the.
Oh,
one of the-
dude, it's
in
on
the top 10.
It's on HBO.
HBO?
It's on HBO.
Okay, it was
it's
HBO.
It's
I don't know.
Shyamalan movie.
Oh yeah.
Called Fear.
I just
or
watched
what the fuck
it.
it is.
Trap.
Trap. There it
Yeah.
is.
Trap.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually liked it.
Yeah,
I thought it wasn't bad. I was like, okay, not
With
bad.
Josh,
yeah, Josh Hartnett.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
that dude hasn't been in
Fucking
a
love
fucking
that
movie.
guy, man. I hope he comes back big.
Dude,
I
Lucky
know.
Number 11 is. I love that
I
fucking
know.
movie. Dude.
I know.
Yeah, that was
30
a good-
Days of Night. Have you seen that? Oh my God, write that shit down.
I'm gonna
write
write
that
30
shit
Days
down
of
right
Night?
now. He's in Alaska, and it's a vampire movie.
Oh fuck yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fucking, and it'll pucker your butthole.
I'm just gonna put it on our
It'll-
text. 'cause
yes.
Otherwise, I
Yeah.
won't.
It'll
Yeah.
pucker shit up so good.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, it might not be exactly that name, but it's Josh Hartnett, Alaska vampire.
Google it. I'll
yeah,
figure it
like
out.
we'll
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, okay, good. So John Douglas did a profile on Jack the Ripper.
He was like,
So he took all of the evidence. He took
he's
all
literally
the
he's
crime
like,
scenes.
White. Okay.
And he
yes. Check. Like, we got that one down.
Wrong. You're not wrong.
We're also in like England. So it's like 99% white.
So I thought at the beginning of this episode that we would take what his profile is of Jack the Ripper.
Oh, and then
we'll go over
then
the suspects.
We become his disciples.
That's
and
right.
Figure it out.
So John Douglas applied his expertise to the Jack the Ripper case as part of an effort to create a psychological profile of the infamous killer. Despite the case being over 100 years old, Douglas's insights are considered invaluable because of his deep understanding of criminal behavior. He was the first guy who interviewed all the famous serial killers.
Oh, okay.
Manson, Bundy, Ed, whatever, the big guy who, anyways, he interviewed all these guys, and he created the common denominator.
Okay, what makes
And
them all?
That's essentially what he did, yeah. Okay, here are the key elements of Douglas's profile of Jack the Ripper. Douglas believes that Jack the Ripper was local,
Okay.
All right.
white,
That makes sense. Yeah.
Male,
Yes.
mid to late 20s or early 30s.
Ooh.
He suggested that the killer was likely of lower to middle socioeconomic status and may have had some form of employment that allowed him to blend in easily with working class population in the East End. Douglas also noted that Ripper may have had a job that provided him with basic knowledge of anatomy, such as butcher, medical student, or mortuary assistant.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking more like, help me dispose of this body, Jack.
But he did not think he was doctor caliber.
Okay.
Yeah?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Not like
basic.
surgeon.
I mean, when with the whole like Jews graffiti
Yeah.
typos and everything, like that's like, man, maybe he's not a doctor.
So essentially, it would be like, could a butcher, maybe a butcher is used to cutting up a cow and knowing every part of a cow, doesn't necessarily
if
mean
you-
that they're a doctor.
No, but
Right,
also
right.
if
But
you
they would-
then like use the knife work skills,
Yeah, there
to
you
then
go.
like I don't know if you've ever seen like a homie cut up a big tuna, and those
Yeah.
motherfuckers
Oh,
do
yeah.
it fat. It's a
Yeah.
600 pound. and, like,
Stop.
dude,
Yeah.
it's those motherfuckers are precise as shit.
That's
Those
right.
knives are like cutting
That's
your
right.
fucking arm off.
Yeah, and they're not doctors.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They're
Exactly.
fishermen. Like
exactly.
those fuckers don't know shit.
But also, you just do that over and over
Yeah,
and
you
over.
muscle
You
memory
just,
it, yeah.
Constantly. According to Douglas, Jack the Ripper was likely a loner, socially awkward, and perhaps struggled with the ability to maintain any sort of relationship, especially with women.
Okay.
He believed the killer may have had a history of unstable or problematic relationships with female figures, could have fueled his violent tendency. The killer's anger was likely directed specifically at women and deep-seated
So
psychological issues.
maybe also he's targeting hookers. Maybe his mom might
There
have
you go.
been, you know? He was angry.
Yeah.
You were never there. You was on the streets. I'm going to pay you back.
That's right. For instance, the killer may have lived alone or with a relative keeping a low profile, but may have shown signs of distress or agitation around the time of the murders. He also suggested that the Ripper was someone who could blend in easily in the area, like we went over. Douglas believed that the Ripper's motive was deeply rooted in a need for control and domination over victims. The brutality and mutilation of the victims suggested rage. Overkill indicated that the murders were personal and driven by psychological torment.
It does seem weirdly personal.
Yeah.
Like,
The mutilation of the bodies, especially removal of organs, was viewed as a way for the killer to feel powerful. The Ripper may have gained. The Ripper may have gained satisfaction not just from the killings, but also from the terror of Whitechapel with the news articles.
Oh,
and
that's why he
that sort of
wrote the
thing.
letter, honestly, to create,
Yeah.
create
Yep.
frenzy.
Douglas postulated that after committing the murders, the Ripper may have exhibited signs of relief, like how he might have shown anxiety or sudden change in behavior, such as drinking, etc. But there was relief when he did it, so it was almost like a release.
Okay.
So he had like all this like rage pent
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
And
exactly.
then like he got to do another one because it builds up again. Like,
Yeah.
One of the biggest, and he says one of the biggest mysteries surrounding Jack the Ripper is why did it stop?
that's a good point.
I know. I was thinking about that in the
He wasn't
first
caught.
episode.
There was no. He wasn't even on the.
Maybe he got hit by a carriage or
Witness.
something. Like something stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
True.
you know, he's just like.
I'm
walking
really
in
on
there
board. I'm on board with like the chaos of
of,
life.
like, life, like back then. Yeah.
That just random things happen.
He
and
got
then,
like cut and got like
Yeah.
sepsis, and then like just died. Like
Or somebody killed him. I mean, like, you know, living
Yeah.
in
On a
that
side
village.
Yeah, bar fight.
Yeah.
Like fuck
Yeah.
you.
So Douglas says that the killer may have just died. He may have been incarcerated for another crime, institutionalized for something else.
There's a million things that could have happened.
He may have moved, but there was some sort of life event that occurred that he was no longer there.
You would think if he was still alive, he'd be doing it somewhere else, even if he moved.
Yeah.
Like you don't just like
You don't turn that
just
off.
cold turkey that
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Cold turkey.
Exactly. So each of the canonical 5 were done at night or close to the weekend, either at the end of the month or a week or so after. The mutilations increased upon every murder. So at the beginning, it was very like, I don't want to say light because the beginning murder was still horrible.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
But
as,
it just
wasn't
got-
as excessive.
Yes,
Yeah.
it just got more progressively like,
Grotesque.
Yeah,
and
there you
like abrasive
and how
or
far-
brazen.
brazen. Yeah.
How
Yes.
far apart was it from like number 1 and number 5? Do we know?
Months.
Okay.
All within
Because he said
months.
he's usually towards the end of the month. So
We didn't really clarify that on the first one, so okay. So
Yeah. I mean, I can pull it out, but it's months.
It seems like maybe like it was like he's doing it around his like work schedule, like towards the weekend.
Yeah.
The end of the month, maybe he gets like a couple days off.
I got
Yeah.
paid. Time to go get
I got that.
Let me go check out these whores.
The stimmy check just hit.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, in the war, a vast majority of the police files were destroyed in the Blitz.
Oh, when they got bombed.
Yeah.
That sucks.
So
They
a
lost.
majority of those files are gone. We do know that a large team of policemen conducted house-to-house inquiries throughout Whitechapel. Forensic material was collected and examined. If you wanted to look into each victim, there's a inventory list of all the things they had on them.
Oh wow.
And it's like, basic stuff like boots and combs and
Bonnets.
Bonnets. Yeah, actually, yeah. So suspects were identified, traced, and either examined more closely or eliminated. 2,000 people were interviewed.
Shit.
300 people were investigated. 80 people were detained for it. They even offered an award for £500
Oh wow.
That's a lot back
for the arrest of the Ripper.
You could buy whole fucking barrels of rum with that.
So they really focused on butchers, slaughterers, surgeons, and physicians. And a surviving note from Major Henry Smith, who was the acting commissioner, indicates that the alibis of local butchers and slaughterers were investigated, with the result that they were eliminated if they had alibis for any of the 5 murders.
But like, how do you even cooperate? It's just like back in the day, there's no like CCTV. There's no like fucking
It's all
cell
witness.
phone. Like ping where your cell tower is. Like it's like there's no
Everything,
way to like
every
know.
single thing was witness related, and you know how
Which
good-
is literally the
you know
most
how horrible. Yes.
unreliable source
Yeah.
of information.
A report from Inspector Swanson to the Home Office confirms that 76 butchers and slaughterers were visited to inquire about them and their whereabouts. So they really were on this butcher,
Yeah.
barber.
That's the one that makes the most sense. The
Well,
butchers.
and they also found like the fucking with the apron, the leather.
Yeah,
apron
that
thing.
too. True.
Even the Queen thought it was a pattern. She even said it seemed like it was a butcher or a cattle driver or something like that. Whitechapel was close to the London docks, and usually there were boats. So Thursday and Friday, they departed on Saturday or Sunday.
So maybe a fisherman.
There you go.
Hey,
Yeah.
we were just talking about that.
Yep. Criminal profiling at the end of October, Robert Anderson asked police surgeon Thomas Bond to give his opinion on the extent of the murders. The opinion offered by Bond on the character of the Whitechapel murder is the earliest surviving offender profile. And this is what he wrote. So this is the first serial killer profile description ever recorded.
Okay.
Basically. All 5 murders were no doubt committed by the same hand. In the first 4, the throats appear to have been cut from left to right. In the last case, owing to the extensive mutilation, it's impossible to say in what direction the fatal cut was made because it was so much.
Yeah, that's like way.
Arterial blood was found on the wall, and splashes close to the woman's head must have been where she was lying.
But if they were cut from left to right, then they're probably right-handed, which we said he was probably left-handed, no?
The first 2, the doctor said they thought it was left-handed.
But then I got like the major surgeon
Yeah.
guy, like the real pros, like meh.
Yeah.
So Bond this analysis was Bond was strongly opposed to the idea that the murderer possessed any scientific or anatomical knowledge, or even the technical knowledge of a butcher or horse slaughterer. In his opinion, the killer must have been a man of solitary habits, subject to periodical attacks of homicidal and erotic mania. Bond also stated that the homicidal impulse may have developed from a revengeful or brooding condition of the mind or religious mania, etc.
Oh yeah, like zealot. Like.
But again, there is 0 evidence that the perpetrator, who is known as Jack the Ripper, performed any sexual activity with any of the victims. Yet many psychologists have come out and said that the penetration of the victims with a knife was the sexual penetration.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I can see that.
I can't see that. I don't get it.
Well, no, when you're a weirdo and you're murdering people,
Yeah.
obviously it's not like
I know, but
they're
I'm
not,
not,
thinking
like,
the same shit
but
we're
like,
thinking.
like stabbing somebody is not the same as putting your penis in their vagina.
Yeah, but dude, like,
Right?
Yeah, but still.
people do weird shit.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, like, do you think you would get pleasure
Like
from getting
clenching
the
with the
shit kicked
cigar.
out of you? Oh, there you go. Hey.
By the way, I saw that. I don't even know that story.
You don't know
Clinton
that story?
put a cigar in her vagina?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, so the concentration of the killings were around weekends and public holidays, and were all within walking distance to each other. So the idea is that
He either lived or worked in that area.
there you go.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's the idea. There were additional letters that were sent in, but a majority of ripperologists, as they call them,
Ripperologist?
consider that the only actual letter was the first letter.
That seems accurate.
Yeah.
You can't
the,
really trust
the other
it.
ones. There's a Saucy Jackie postcard marked in October. They say the handwriting was similar to the Dear Boss, and it mentioned it, but it's been argued the postcard was posted before the murders were publicized, making it unlikely. There was a From Hell letter, which was a movie. Then the movie with Johnny Depp was then based on that.
Okay.
Which is called From Hell, if you wanted to see that. Yeah. And anyways, but again, they come back saying that they can't confirm that it was
can't
him.
confirm or deny. Huh?
You know, again, it's the trying to be celebrity kind of thing. You know,
This is weird.
yeah,
Just everybody popping out of nowhere. Like,
Yeah, everyone wants
Trying to take credit.
I know,
Everyone wants to be famous, even
I know.
for weird
Yeah.
shit.
I know. It's the DB Cooper syndrome.
Literally.
Yeah, yeah.
And the death
We'll go with
Jack
that
the Ripper.
forever. I know. In the immediate aftermath of the murders, and later, Jack the Ripper became the boogeyman. Like he became the monster in like the Hollywood 1920s and 30s. He became the monster.
Yeah.
He became the bad guy in it. And, you know, a lot of these things, even in Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock, there were incorporations of this.
Oh, okay.
Even I feel like Zodiac copied him. You know, like in pop culture and everything, like this dude,
Yeah, he is like the ultimate evil.
he's the original, yeah. Even Dracula is kind of there are a lot of similarities of taking out organs and, you know, that whole thing. So
Vlad the Impaler.
some say, yeah. In 2006, BBC did a poll about the worst Britons in history, and they selected Jack the Ripper as the worst Briton in history.
I mean, I would have also voted that too.
In 2015, Jack the Ripper Museum opened in East London.
Damn any museum?
Wow.
What the fuck? I don't know if I'd go. I don't know.
It attracted criticism from both Mayor John Biggs and protesters. Similar protesters occurred in 2021 when the second of two Jack the Chipper fish and chips shops opened in Greenwich.
It's like too soon.
So they literally,
Too soon.
they literally call it Jack the Chipper.
Oh my god,
And they specialize in fish and chips.
that's so.
Anyways, the reason I'm telling you this is because like Jack the Ripper became
Yeah, it's
huge,
become this
like,
weird, like
super famous.
yeah, it's like you said, like a pop culture type thing. Like
Yeah.
exactly. So there you go. So now we're gonna go into the theories, conspiracy theories, and outlandish theories, etc. So there was a book called Jack the Ripper: The Final Solution in 1978 by Stephen Knight. And it was a theory, a conspiracy theory involving the Ripper murders. And ever since then, it has kind of stuck. And the theory links the murders to a royal cover-up involving Prince Albert Victor, known as Eddie, the Freemasons,
of course.
a high-profile government figure, and including the Queen's physician, Sir William Gull. Knight's story begins with the BBC researching Ripper case in 1973. They were led to a man named Joseph Sickard, the son of the famous painter Walter Sickard. Joseph told them that a sensational tale. He said Prince Eddie had secretly married a commoner named Annie Cook. and had a daughter named Alice Margaret. When Queen Victoria learned of this, she feared a scandal and ordered the Prime Minister to handle it. Gull, which was the physician, under Salisbury's orders, experimented on Annie, causing her mental deterioration, while Mary Jane Kelly, who knew the secret and became Alice's caretaker. So Mary Jane Kelly was the final victim.
Oh, shit.
And was the caretaker of the illegitimate child of the prince.
Oh, so he had to clean up loose ends.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So Alice's caretaker, Kelly, later threatened to expose the affair alongside Polly Nichols, Elizabeth Stride, Annie Chapman.
Oh, because they're all like homies.
They're all homies.
Oh.
So they all together as like the canonical five.
Oh, that also makes sense why
tried to blackmail the royal government.
Well, that also explains why why the murders would just stop.
Like, well,
once all the potential scandalers are gone, no need to kill anybody anymore.
So to silence the women, Gull, the physician, assisted by coachman John Netley, began a series of ritualistic murders under the guise of Jack the Ripper.
But like, why would they get so sad? Like, why would they have to do like that much though? Like, just kill
Some
him.
people
no,
say
no, we gotta really spice it up.
Some people say there were
gotta make it convincing.
Some people say there were Masonic symbols and involvement with high-ranking officials.
Oh, with the fucking on the shoulder, with the intestines on the shoulder, and the fucking skin flap on the shoulder. Okay,
Gull then supposedly died shortly thereafter, which was the physician. Then the right-hand man, Netley, drowned in the Thames.
Oh, randomly drowned in
Thames.
in a ditch.
Sorry, I keep saying that wrong. Thames, yeah. And then Annie Crook died inside a workhouse. So all the loose ends.
All the loose ends
All
are taken
loose
care
ends.
of. Yeah, right. He drowned.
Meanwhile, the illegitimate child was raised in secret and eventually married elsewhere.
Became the king. I'm just gonna.
So there's a lot of flaws in this, but that still kind of sticks as one of the bigger conspiracies, which is that's the royal cover-up.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
No.
I mean, I think it's a little wonky, but I like the bones. I like the bones. Of
Yeah.
Like the structure of it.
it. Yeah, I do.
It's very much like the Man in the Iron Mask story.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
You know
Where
what I
I was
mean?
like, he was like the
Yeah.
illegitimate prince, and they're like, "Meh," and like, fucking get rid of him, replace him.
So ripperologist Donald Rumbelow and others have debunked key elements of the theory, proving that the supposed sights and characters could not have existed as Knight described. Even Joseph Sicard later admitted to fabricating parts of the story. Critics also point out that Knight's theory hinges on the idea of a massive conspiracy, and there's no evidence to support anything, which kind of lends itself to being a conspiracy in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why it's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
If there was irrefutable evidence, we would just know.
Yeah.
Like, we wouldn't have this podcast about it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's one. I'm going to go through a couple of the suspects.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you a little bit about them, and then at the end of this, we'll kind of go, okay, good. We've got all the suspects, the theories.
Who done it?
Who did it? Who did this? There's somebody by the name of Montague John Druitt. He's one of the most well-known suspects in the Ripper case. He was a barrister.
A barrister?
A barrister and a school
I thought you
teacher.
meant a barista.
I know, that's what I thought too. I was like, they
motherfucker
don't
makes
know
some
fucking coffee.
espresso,
He's making
little latte.
cappuccinos. Yeah, making cappuccinos in the East End.
He's a barrister.
Yeah. Okay, so he was a barrister and a school teacher coming from a respectable middle-class family in Dorset. Despite his professional success, Druitt reportedly struggled with mental health, a lot of personal difficulties, and he was born in 1857. He was the son of a prominent surgeon. After completing his education, he became a barrister and later took up a position as a teacher in a boarding school. By many accounts, he was intelligent, hardworking, and well-liked. However, he was believed to experience episodes of extreme depression and other mental health challenges. He eventually committed suicide, but his connection to the Ripper case is due to a memorandum written by Sir Melville Magneton, And he was the assistant chief
Wait,
constable.
what does that mean?
Sir Melville Magneton.
That's his name.
Oh.
Like, I don't know. I never heard of that element. What the fuck is this guy?
No, he wrote a memorandum like upon his death, and he said, and he was the assistant chief constable of the Metro Police in 1894. And he listed McNaughton, or Druitt, we'll go with Druitt, as one of the three main suspects, describing him as sexually insane, claiming that the murder stopped when he committed suicide.
Ooh, okay.
According to him, Druitt's family had concerns about his mental health, suggesting that he may have exhibited signs of instability. One key reason for the suspicion around him is the timing of his death. His body was discovered floating in the river on December 31st of that year, and he was supposedly floating in the water for a month. So essentially, his death coincides perfectly
With the
the
last one.
final death, which was Marianne Kelly on November 9th.
Okay.
Tracking?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really about it on evidence.
It's more like it's more like a coinkydink.
Yes, exactly.
His family was like, he was fucking weird, and then like you could
Yes,
just they're
that's
like,
right.
oh,
He was a little
okay.
off.
Yeah, right. They're like, ugh, like it's not the booze or the rampant alcoholism or fetal alcohol syndrome. It's it's him. There's something wrong with him.
Okay, next suspect, Aaron Kosminski, and he's the one that you sent me.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just so you know. He's one of the most enduring suspects in the Jack the Ripper case. He was born on September 11th, 1865 in Poland, part of the Russian Empire at the time. At that time, he fled Eastern Europe to escape poverty and persecution, eventually landing in East...
Especially landing in the
East
worst
End.
place
I know,
on
yeah.
earth.
True, right? It
Fled poverty to go
It was
to
definitely not
poverty.
the American dream. Aaron Kosminski's mental health deteriorated significantly during his time in London. Reports described him as suffering from auditory hallucinations, paranoia, and other symptoms that were later identified as paranoid schizophrenia. He experienced delusions and was said to hear voices compelling him to act violently. His behavior became increasingly erratic, and his family struggled to care for him. In 1891, Kosminski was declared insane and was admitted to Colney Lunatic Asylum. He later transferred to Levensden Asylum, where he remained until his death in 1919.
I love how they literally call that place the whatever lunatic asylum.
Yeah,
Sorry.
pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, like okay.
Records from these institutions describe him as refusing to eat food prepared by others due to paranoid fears of being poisoned, and often behaving and being in a catatonic state. Yeah. He was first identified as a suspect years after the Ripper murders, largely through police memoranda written by high-ranking officials. Assistant Commissioner Robert Anderson and Chief Inspector Donald Swanson both named Kosminski as a prime suspect in their private personal writings before they died. In Anderson's memoirs, he stated that Ripper had been a low-class Polish Jew who was identified by a witness but could not be prosecuted because the witness, also a Jew, refused to testify against another Jew.
Jews stick together, even if they are murdering motherfuckers. Okay.
Chief Inspector Swanson's notes added more detail, specifically naming Kosminski as a suspect and describing how the witness's identification occurred, but how no trial occurred because the witness was unwilling to give that evidence.
Now this guy was also a barber, right? Is that the same guy? Which would kind of help explain how
He was proficient with the knife?
yeah, that knife work exactly.
Yeah.
You know, somehow.
Maybe.
Well,
A little
I mean,
bit, little
one
bit.
of the here are the couple of things that why people think that it's him. One is that he was put into an insane asylum right at the
Murderer.
end. No, right at the end of the murders.
Okay.
So like you remember we were talking about the murders stopped and why?
Well,
Okay,
Because he went away.
because he went away, right? But it's never been definitively proven that he had any involvement in the murders. So historians are constantly arguing about it. Then in 2014, and Jorge had sent me this link in a video, there was a DNA analysis done by a shawl that was near the body of Catherine Addo, the Ripper's fourth victim. And And one of the doctors, a senior lecturer in molecular biology, conducted that analysis and reported that there was linked DNA from the shawl to one of the descendants of Kosminski's sister.
So there's like some, they don't have his
Relation.
DNA, but there's like some DNA, like some
connection
similarities.
there.
Yeah.
So essentially, here's what we have with Kosminski. We have, he was psycho.
Yeah. He was put in an asylum.
The murder stopped.
Yeah.
And then they never happened again.
And potential DNA
And potential DNA
comparables.
relation. Aside from that,
That's all we got.
that's it. Also, there was he was a suspect by the Scotland Yard.
Okay.
Yeah? Tracking?
Okay.
But again, also, and I'm going to just throw out there that the FBI profiler, what was his name?
John
Douglas?
John Douglas, yeah.
He said he was likely.
Yeah.
He concluded that he was likely
based on
the guy.
based on
Based on his profile and the evidence and all the suspects, he said he was likely the individual.
that's a strong bold stance.
And he's on video saying it. I watched the video.
And this was before 2014 when they did the whole DNA thing.
correct. This was in 1985.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
This guy might be honest.
There you go. So put that in your little
The
cap. So a couple other ones. George Chapman. Chapman was a Polish immigrant who worked as a barber in London. He later became a serial killer in his
maybe
own
this is
right.
the guy I was thinking about then.
So Chapman became a serial killer separately.
So
Just one day, he's like, fuck it.
Dude, like this actually hot odds for
Yeah.
him to be the guy. Though.
But so he was in Whitechapel during that time. But he became a serial killer, quote unquote, by poisoning people.
That's a lot different than like carving out their organs.
It's a lot different.
It's a
But
lot-
again, you can't count out the dude in the area who then became a serial killer in his own right separately.
But being
Does that make sense?
But being so different, do you
I-
really think
so
a guy
different.
who was doing that shit could be like, I'm just
Totally.
gonna switch to like non-contact poison?
That's right.
Psychologically, it's probably
Yeah.
not the same
Yeah,
profile.
It seems like
Mm-hmm.
he'd be like, it's one cut, just a little one.
Then there's also Dr. Thomas Cream. His name's Dr. Thomas Cream.
Okay.
And he also was a serial killer. And he was hanged for being a serial killer. And allegedly, his deathbed words. Well, it wasn't a deathbed. It was a death hanging.
Hanging man.
His final, this is allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, his last words were, "I am Jack the Dead."
Oh, like I am Jack. Then like they drop him.
Correct.
He was like Jack. Jack the crack.
I don't know.
Jack the stack.
I don't know. There's not a lot of evidence otherwise, except for it's a deathbed confession.
Do we know how he killed people?
Poison.
This guy did?
Yeah,
I thought the other guy did poison.
they both did.
They both were
So
poisoned.
this guy never cut anybody.
No.
But he was okay. But wasn't this guy a surgeon though?
So some people say that he was incarcerated in the state of Illinois during this time. So, it's hard to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, these are theories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and one of the coolest theories that we're going to go over.
Aliens.
I love it. No, actually, it's a little bit later. We got one. Yeah. But this one is wild to me. Have you ever heard of H.H. Holmes?
No.
I don't know why it sounds familiar.
Yes, you probably have. So H.H. Holmes is one of the most infamous American serial killers ever. And he was the guy who had the hotel in Chicago during the World Fair in the early 1900s and the late 1800s. And it was just a murder factory. And he would get people to come in and women and stuff like that and just fucking kill them in the hotel, put them down a chute, and then there was bodies everywhere.
God.
Shit.
Fucking gnarly. Yeah?
Jesus.
So there's a theory that H.H. Holmes
Was on, a Euro tour?
is Jack the Ripper. Because it was around the same time, but it was in America. And so the theory
It's like he took a
essentially
little trip abroad and then
that's right. Essentially it
then
was
did
like,
peace-
hey,
and then peaced out?
he went to London for
did some
a
fucking
vacay and did a little butchering.
Went down to Whitechapel.
Yeah.
This one, I like this one.
The central claim of the theory is that H.H. Holmes, whose real name was Herman Webster Mudgett, might have traveled to London during the time of Jack the Ripper during 1888 and committed those gruesome murders and then returned to the United States and thus ending the murders of Jack the Ripper.
So once he leaves there, then the murder stops.
The theory suggests
they
that
continue in the U.S.
Yeah. The theory suggests that Holmes' medical knowledge, cunning, sadistic tendencies, etc. Holmes was a trained physician, is best known for constructing something called the Murder Castle in Chicago during the 1893 World's Fair, which was 5 years earlier to the. Can you just fucking imagine the two worst serial killers
like
on
the
the
same
world
dude.
in the same time period? Just in different locations. It's just strange.
It's very strange.
But the building he made, if you ever really want to go into the craziest shit ever, he made a building with trapdoors, torture chambers, etc., and he just killed so many people.
Well, it seems like more
There
like
you go.
closer to the MO.
Yeah.
It's not like poisoning people. He's like doing very sadistic, disgusting things.
Yeah. Anyways, again, we went over a little bit, like, he had medical expertise. He was a physician. He would practice. He knew all.
He also had the means. Like he wasn't like poor.
Yes, exactly.
He could take a trip to England if he wanted to because he's got cash.
Yeah. The timeline of Holmes' activities in the U.S. around 1888 has gaps, so not a lot of people know what he was doing during 1888. So he could have traveled to London. Both Holmes and Jack the Ripper were known for their brutality and for targeting women only. And there's torture, anatomical knowledge, etc. Some claim there's a lot of stuff there. Some claim that the descriptions of Jack the Ripper given by witnesses loosely match Holmes as far as like his physical appearance, etc. But again, from a counter, like if we looked at the counter arguments, there's no documentation, no travel records.
Yeah.
Modus operandi is a little different. H.H. Holmes didn't necessarily pull out their organs and put them ritualistically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't put them on their shoulders and shit. Anyway, so there you go. There was a TV show, if you were interested in looking at it. I watched it. It was okay. It's called American Ripper. And it's one of those reality shows where they go, I'm going to solve it, and then they don't really solve anything. You know, that kind of...
And then at the end, you're like, great.
Like Ancient Aliens.
Yeah. You're like, oh, great. I've spent 36 hours doing this.
Literally just to find out that they didn't solve it.
A couple others. This one's interesting because his name's Joseph Barnett. He's the only one who was a suspect that was connected to one of the victims.
Okay.
You notice how all these suspects... There's no personal.
Oh, it's your husband.
No
Yes, there's no personal relation. Joseph Barnett, his close relationship with the final victim, Mary Jane Kelly. He was a fish porter at Billingsgate Market. He lived with Mary Jane Kelly, and he was for approximately 18 months before her murder.
Okay.
Their relationship was tumultuous. Barnett provided financial support until he lost his job. They got into a big fight. Apparently, the night before they argued, Barnett left their shared lodgings for good. Witnesses say that Kelly allowed other women. You remember?
Yeah,
she was like the one who was like letting people in. He disliked the constant prostitution everywhere and influence.
So he's like,
so basically, he's the only one who knew one of the victims who has then a motive and kind of, you know, that sort of thing.
Prostitutes.
Barnett was questioned by police shortly after the murder. He provided an alibi claiming he was at his own lodging house the night of the murder, and they didn't really find any concrete evidence to link him. He was released, and he wasn't really seriously pursued as a suspect after that. Yeah.
Interesting.
But some ripperologists consider it to be the only crime of passion for Kelly because it was such a gnarly murder.
Like,
you know what I mean?
It's so excessive.
I know. Okay, so now I have 5 or 6 that are very rapid fire theories.
Do it.
Yeah, and these are the wild ones. These are the a little bit out there.
Yeah, a little
There's
bit.
no evidence,
Yeah.
so but we're gonna talk about
pure
them
speculation.
in their own. Okay, good. Some theorists have suggested that Jack the Ripper was in fact a woman,
Damn.
and have coined the term Jill the Ripper. The theory argues that a midwife or a woman with medical knowledge could have committed the murders and escaped suspicion because people wouldn't have expected a woman to commit these kind of crimes. Additionally, a midwife would have plausible reason for being covered in blood, and so nobody would suspect her.
But on the street though.
One of the suspects in this theory is Mary Piercy, who was convicted of brutal murder later in 1890. However, no evidence suggests that.
Okay.
But it's called the Jill the Ripper theory. Yeah. Another wild one. Have you ever heard of Lewis Carroll? No. Lewis Carroll wrote Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Author Richard Wallace proposed the bizarre idea that Lewis Carroll was Jack the Ripper. Wallace claimed that Carroll's writings contained anagrams that, when rearranged, confessed to the Ripper murders.
Okay.
He argued that Carroll's supposedly repressed rage and psychological issues led him to commit the murders.
Yeah.
However, this theory has been widely criticized.
It's just a little if you take the 3rd, 4th, or 17th letter of every sentence that spells out, hey, I'm Jack the Ripper.
Super weird one, the time traveler theory.
Get the fuck out of here.
A truly science fiction based theory suggests that Jack the Ripper was actually a time traveler from the future.
Shit up.
According to the theory, the time traveler went back to Victorian era to either carry out the murders or to correct something in the timeline. And the Ripper murders were an unintended consequence of correcting the timeline.
Unintended. Like, I'm gonna spend 6 hours mutilating this person.
This is like
Unintended.
fucking
Ritualistically rearranging shit.
This is like the Avengers going back and accidentally killing 5 prostitutes.
Yeah, but not just killing them, like brutally mutilating them. Save the timeline.
Horrible.
Okay, that one's bullshit.
Another one, Jack the Ripper was a Freemason. Some theories suggest that Jack the Ripper was a Freemason.
Ritualistic aspects.
And the murders were ritualistic killings tied to Masonic symbolism. The idea is that the Ripper left behind clues connected to Masonic rituals, and that high-ranking members of the Freemasons were involved in covering up the crimes. The proponents of this theory point to the graffiti that was found at the crime scene. The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing, as a potential Masonic reference.
Oh, okay, sure. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
I'm not
buying that
I'm not
one.
discounting it.
Yeah. Not discounting it. Jack the Ripper was a famous author. Some theories have suggested that the famous authors such as Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, may have been involved in the murders. The theory suggests that Conan Doyle had a fascination with crime and used the Ripper murders as a way to act out his darkest fantasies and help create the greatest murder mystery novels of all time, Sherlock Holmes.
I mean, while it's not impossible, I just don't think that's happening.
Yeah.
Sounds like one of those, like, do it for the gram. Like,
Yeah, but
Do it for the grand back in the day.
any PR is good PR.
Another one of the most far-fetched
the views.
theories suggests that
Clicks.
Jack the Ripper's victims were actually abducted and mutilated by extraterrestrial beings.
okay, this is the best sounding
All
one
right,
so far.
I'm already interested.
Yes.
The idea is that the Ripper murders were part of an alien experiment, or that the killer himself was an alien, and that the alien was dissecting humans, and they wanted to find out what made humans tick.
Yeah, but no, I just based on what they're doing to these ladies, like I can't imagine an alien's like, I wonder if I stab her in the vagina, what will happen? Like, no,
Let me take it. Let me take it with me.
Take it with me.
Another theory. Some have speculated that Jack the Ripper may have had supernatural abilities, such as being able to vanish into thin air after committing the murders.
No.
No.
Next.
Because the argument is that it must have taken 20, 30 minutes to do that, but nobody came along, and then they just disappeared.
I mean, he was just doing it at like 2, 3 a.m. Everyone's shit can drunk. I mean, come on. No one's paying
Literally,
attention to
one of
anything.
them was like 4 a.m. Like,
I know, it's
what
like-
is happening at 4 a.m.?
No, that's why
Nothing.
no one's seeing shit. Yeah, it vanished because no one's there.
Yeah. All right. And the final one is the basis of the theory of Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh, okay. Like he's
In
like
the
an
story of
upstanding
that.
citizen.
Correct.
And then he fucking snaps.
Yes.
He's a psycho.
So, strangely enough, the novella Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was published 2 years prior to the Ripper murders.
Oh, and it's like a first-hand account?
Yes. Some have theorized that the story was inspired by or even played a role in the crimes. The idea is that Ripper had a dual personality similar to the character in the Robert Louis Stevenson work.
I mean, I definitely think, that, like...
Maybe. I mean, you never know.
I mean, I think there's probably some... Like, how do you, like, compartmentalize that? Like, and, like, do, like, a normal day after doing something like that? You're going to have to, like, section that shit off. So maybe that's... I can see how it could be like that. I don't think the book has anything to do with it, but I'm saying, like, that person as an individual probably had, like, something like that.
Well, good job, everybody. We got through every theory that we could find, and we got through all of the nitty-gritty. Now, obviously, there's more that you could dive into. Each murder has even more information, more witnesses, more like what they had in their pockets, all the different things. But we try to take what was the most important pieces of information and then figure out what to do from there. So,
one thing we didn't dive into, possibility of a hunter. Like somebody that is,
and they did have
they know how to like
the deer stalker cat.
Yeah, there you go.
Although these guys didn't seem like there was a lot of hunting involved.
Yeah.
Right.
There's 1,600 of these.
No, the meaning like a
the
hunter.
ability to skin and the ability to like
and that's
cut.
how the guy knew like
basic anatomy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
Fisherman or hunter.
Totally.
Fisherman makes
I like
sense.
the fisherman.
I like that, and what you were saying earlier about like
cutting up
that
they know,
old
like,
tuna and knowing exactly what to do.
So obviously the guy was just a psycho that
full
fucking,
psycho, full sin.
Something tripped and then like he just goes, he does the first one and then he's like, oh shit, I got away with it, and then it just kind of like
it just keeps going.
Yeah, it's like something like just kind of turns on. In him.
Who do you think it was?
Do you think it's any of those guys, or
out of what we know, or is it somebody else?
No, out of everything we just went over, if I had to pick one of those, Holmes is the closest.
You like that H.H. Holmes one?
I do like the H.H. Holmes. I do think the H.H. Holmes is actually really solid. I personally think that there's got like, I like when there's legitimate motive, and the fact that
But these are serial killers. There's no motive.
No.
Right? These are fucking psychopaths.
No, but like in terms of a conspiracy, in terms of what we do, there's typically there's a higher level reason behind it other than like random acts of insanity. So I like the one. I don't think it's necessarily the exact thing. I think it's a version of it, of the old like royal cover up thing.
Oh yeah.
I think that I think that maybe like that did happen, and obviously these girls all kind of know each other.
Illegitimate kid.
Yeah, I think there was an illegitimate kid. He was fucking some hooker, whatever. And I think maybe like one of the dudes who was like maybe even the royal family is like, don't kill him, just like make sure they just don't talk. I don't know what happened, but I think maybe one of the guys like takes it a little like off the fucking rails.
Yeah.
And then goes deep, because then those dudes end up dying anyways. It gets the one dude's in fucking drowns, the other dude gets killed, and I'm like. And then the crowd was like wipe their hands.
Too many
like,
coincidences, kind of thing.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And those girls, they fucking know each other. The last girl was having girls stay with her.
I know.
Like the odds of them knowing each other in a tiny little town are pretty high.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
that's true.
They know everybody. They know all the Johns.
And they all. So I think that they could have been five of them. Like, oh yeah, we were there that night and we happened to see him. And then you got pregnant. You had a baby right after. They're like, oh shit. And they're like, oh, dude, we can extort these rich motherfuckers. And then, like,
true, actually.
I like that.
Your entire mentality is like, get out of the slum.
Dude, for sure. Like,
right?
Thank God, it's got to suck. It's the worst.
And we do know they all knew each other.
They had to have, dude.
They all knew each other.
75% of the chicks.
At least they were like, yeah, I know that girl. I see her around all the time.
Yeah, that's why they have all the nicknames. Oh, there's Long Lenny, and then fucking like all those
Ginger.
weird.
We should get some nicknames.
Huh?
We should get some nicknames.
Yeah.
I could be
Bald Eric.
No, I was thinking Long Eric.
Long Eric. Long Eric will do. I don't even know what I would be. Loud Sean. Fucking annoying Sean.
All right, so Jorge.
Tripod Jorge.
It's
a penis joke.
I know.
Penis joke.
You get it? Do you get it?
Yes, I get it. Because you can stand on, like, your dick can support you like a tripod. I know the joke. No, what do you think? Jorge already gave his 2 cents. About you?
I kind of like the guy who was psycho in the insane asylum.
Oh, okay.
Because Kosminski and the DNA.
The DNA,
like,
like he goes in, and then it
stops. It seems pretty logical.
That is kind of weird that it just stops.
That is
If
a
you're a
weird thing.
serial killer, you're gonna keep going.
What is it, Aaron
See,
Kosminski?
that's also why I like the thing, because like they killed all 5 bitches.
Right.
And then it's like, well,
but I don't really understand the Jew thing.
I don't understand. I think that might have just been some random ass
Coincidence?
shit. Yeah, just some random shit on the wall.
I think
They
so
spelled
too.
Jew. No,
I
who
think it was
spells
not-
Jews that way? Like, come on,
Totally.
it's ridiculous.
Totally. If you're gonna do a hate,
You can't even like.
sentence-
It's like
spell it
misspelling the. It's like, how do you fuck that up?
Yeah.
I kind of like the insane asylum guy.
Yeah, makes sense.
And what you had sent me, which the DNA thing. I know it's a far.
But there is a similar.
Right.
There's
something.
There's something
There's
there.
something.
Some familial
Yeah.
connection.
But at the same time, they're prostitutes. So maybe he just fucked the girl.
Dude, that's also true.
No, there's no evidence of that.
No, but I mean
jizz.
semen.
It was not. It was on the. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, maybe he was just like.
But I'm just saying it doesn't.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
How many
could've
jobs
just
do they
been
have
that-
in a night? I don't
Yeah,
know. He could've
yeah.
been-
It could have been he just smashed.
and then, like, it happenstance.
Yeah.
like-
So there's so Anyways.
Yeah.
All right.
love to hear what you guys. I know we're all like deflated.
I do know it's horrific. It's horrible. I don't even. It's crazy that the story has continued to persist, but it's because there's the mystery. It's the boogeyman. It's the dude who never got caught and
we're
like
all-
creeping in the night in the fucking.
We're also fascinated by the unknown, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
we gotta like fucking fill the
Yeah.
void.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let us know what you guys think. Who do you think killed?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Who do you think is Jack the
Is
Ripper?
It's Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, that's right.
Jack the Ripper. He's a French asshole. I would believe that.
All right. Well, anything else?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we didn't freak you out with this one.
Yeah, I
I'm
know
a
it's
little-
dark,
I'm a
but you
little
know, at the
freaked
same
out.
time.
It was good.
It's pretty good. I liked it. I learned. I didn't know. I just knew Jack the Ripper was a murderer. I didn't know any other shit that he did.
Same.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly, and there's a lot more to that you could dive into, and hopefully this was the launch point if you wanted to look more
Into
into
your
it.
studies.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can look at the photos. I wouldn't do it at work.
No. NSFW.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we really appreciate you guys, especially just a shout out to all our Patreons. You guys are the best.
We love you. We do really love you.
Especially during our break, everybody kept, supporting us and saying, go ahead, take the break and be really cool about it. And,
It was very nice. You guys could have easily been like, well, peace out. Fuck
I
you
know,
guys.
yeah, exactly. And so we appreciate that as we march towards our 100th episode. We're at 91, 92.
Woot.
And we're building up to, the pyramids.
Yes.
And a couple
9/11.
other really cool ones. Yes, and there's also one that I've been working on. It's called the Bayou Murders. And there was a Patreon request.
you told
It's
me
really
that.
cool. It's really wild. So there's all sorts of cool stories, and that's why I love doing this, is because there are so many more stories than I even realized.
There is infinite. Like, we'll have content for the rest of.
Yeah, more mysteries
lives.
and stories and etc. So appreciate you guys.
Happy Thanksgiving coming up.
Yep.
That's right.
And as always, nighty night.
Hey guys, are you obsessed with us?
That's cool.
am.
Can you just
like
not
that.
get enough?
That's all right. We don't blame you.
We just launched a Patreon and Spotify exclusive content. There are 2 ways you can sign up for exclusive content. The first is through Spotify. There's a link in our profile description that links you to the Spotify premium page. And that's only $2.99 a month. And it gets you an ad-free experience and it gets you extra episodes that come out every month. The other way is through our Patreon. All you got to do is go to Patreon and search The Conspiracy Podcast, and you'll find us. There are many different levels there. all giving different amounts of content.
And you get a lot of bennies with this, like maximum bennies. No ads.
You get some exclusive discounts on our merch.
Oh yeah, you get access to our. We had a Discord.
Yeah.
You want to like talk to us in real time?
Do you want to yell at us constantly live?
Yeah. Do you want to have free access to cuss us out without any repercussions whatsoever?
Or just simply suggest a new episode that we got to do.
There you go. And on top of it, you get 5 free mini episodes right out the gate.
And then 1 a month from then on.
What is a mini episode real quick?
A mini episode is basically a conspiracy or a mystery where it just doesn't warrant a full hour-long episode.
So go to conspiracypodcast.com/Patreon.